Welcome to the first Q&A with myself, Althea Blake, the corporate doctor, and not just the corporate doctor, your favorite corporate doctor. So I wanted to do this Q&A session, which I will drop once a week, because many people either come into my DMs or when they meet me in person, or I see lots of questions in communities. And I thought, actually working with lots of C-suite leaders, emerging leaders, and everyone in between, there's no scenario that is usually unique. So if I answer the question publicly, it's bound to help more than the person that actually asked for it. So the question this week is, as a manager, how can I find motivation for myself and my team in a wider system that feels demotivating? Okay, so I'm going to break this up into three different sections. So we're going to look at the manager, then the team, and then the wider organization. Firstly, you have to realize that you can't control everything. So you need to focus on what you can control. So that's your team, the environment that you are creating for your team. What does that culture look like? Okay, so that's where we're going to really focus. You can't change the wider system. There's parts that you might be able to influence, but right now, if you feel demotivated, your team feels demotivated, let's start there. So let's break it down. So let's start with you. And I always break it into, as I said, I break it into three parts. And the first part is to thine own self be true. And to all those who are Shakespeare fans, you'll know that is a quote from Hamlet. So it's really about being true to your own principles and really applying and acting on your own values as well. But it's also aligning those values with your team and the wider organization. So, as I said, we're starting with you. So, let's look at your why. Let's revisit your why. Why was it important? What was your why for becoming a leader? Some people just fell into that position organically. It was just logically the next step, and no one else was filling it. So internally, you fit into that position, and maybe you feel like you was never really prepared, but you are here now. So what is it now that you feel that excited you about the role? What made you determined to do well in the role? What was the impact that you said to yourself from the start that you wanted to make? Ask yourself those questions. And sometimes in a situations where you do feel quite demotivated, you might feel a little bit demoralized. It's really hard to even go back and address some of those thoughts. But it's really important. And as I said, sometimes you can't really control the wider environment, but focus on what you can control. Think about some of the small wins that you've achieved within your team. Maybe some of the, thank you, you're just an amazing manager. Some of the compliments, some of the projects that were delivered on time, even ahead of a schedule and delivered with excellence. Think about those small wins. Think about somebody who even just turned up to work and just smiled and said, this I've had a great day today. Sometimes we have to start with just those small wins. And then for you also, surround yourself with the right peer network. There are other leaders, managers, well, some are going through the same thing that you're going through. Some have been through it and come out on the other side and are able just to give you advice. But those who are going through it with you, it's not about starting a pity party together. It's about, okay, what are you trying? What is it that you're working on? And being able to build on that together, seeking advice from your like-minded peers. And then lastly, what are you doing in terms of your energy? What are some of the things that you enjoy? So this could be inside the workplace, but also ultimately it's outside the workplace as well. What are some of the things that you are doing that is bringing you joy, that is bringing you peace? And you might be saying, "Oh, corporate doctor, it's not when I leave work. Once I leave and I'm outside, I feel great. But it's actually when I step back into the building, that's when those feelings of demotivation and that heaviness comes back." Sometimes you have to start thinking to yourself, okay, the things that I'm doing outside of work that bring me joy, They're not to be discounted because actually they're leadership tools that are going to just build up your motivation, build up your energy, rather than you being on that plateau of just not feeling where you know you should be. And then when we're looking at your team, all those Bible scholars, it's about do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So again, how do you want to be treated? If you was within that team, within that environment, what are some of the things that of the expectations that you would expect from someone leading that team? And we can make assumptions, but I always say start with asking your team. You may not have created an environment where people, an transparent environment where people can come and talk to you openly, but that can start today. Just bring everybody together and just acknowledge, okay, we recognize that the wider system is not where we need it to be, but we can do what we can do is create an environment where we are all excelling, where we wake up each morning and we're joyous to come to work. Find out some of, be honest. Firstly, just be honest with the situation. And it's not, again, about coming and letting everybody air their grudges. That doesn't serve anybody. But it's been open. Is the company going through changes? Just explain to them, look, the company's going through change. And yes, there might even be some situations where we're not sure where the company's going, how it might affect our department. But what we do know is where we are now and what we've been employed to fulfill. And so yesterday I heard a term when it came to leadership, and it was duty of care. And as leaders, you do have a duty of care to ensure that your team are getting the support they need to function in the way that they were employed to do. And so ask them also, what are some of the things that you're struggling with? Is it down to you require upskilling? Do you need more flexibility? Or do you just need more reassurance on your position within the company? And just be truthful. If there's a budget for them to be upskilled, then talk about timelines on when that might actually happen. But again, just allow them to see what the big picture is for the team and then what the bigger picture is for the organization. How do their efforts and their roles and responsibilities contribute to the team and also the wider company? Get them to take some ownership there. Let them understand how they're impacting the lives outside of the organization. And again, back to that, what is going to motivate them? What would help them to feel motivated? And again, being honest with them in terms of what's possible and what's not possible right now. Remember to praise them, give praises, give them recognition, even for the smallest effort. It doesn't have to be the end result. Even as you go along the way, give them, you can do awards, monthly awards. There's a few companies that I've worked for, even consulted at, and as part of their weekly or monthly routine, they would gather everybody together, and during the week, they would certain people would be nominated as team member of the week. Again, it was that recognition, and they would get their picture on the plaque, and that would be left in reception. Again, these are things that you could implement just even for your team, putting a plaque or somewhere prominent on the desk, so when they all turn up, they can see it. Okay, it could well be that even on the Zoom call, you have a small picture of them. No one wants to see themselves filled up on the entire screen, but just in acknowledgement that, look, this is the team member of the month. This is the team member of the week. Okay. And again, what are you doing for them in terms of their own self-care as well? Ask them what matters to them to be able to find the right to make the right choices that will suit them. One hat does not fit all. And then lastly, we go on to the wider team. And there's a Chinese or possibly African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Now, as much as you are a team and you are siloed away and working on what you need to, it's working on something for the bigger picture, for the good of the company. And sometimes we seem to work in isolation from the rest of the company. And often no one knows what it is that we do. Well, make that effort to showcase what you do, whether that be on platforms like LinkedIn, whether that be a weekly or monthly staff newsletter, whether that be an online mailing list that go internal comms mailing list that goes around. Let them know some of the wins you're doing. If you're offering even services internally, let people know about it. Let them know what you're doing. Do joint ventures with other departments in the team so you can feel that you're part of the wider organization and not set apart. You want to feel like you're making a difference within the organization. And sometimes to do that, you want to feel part of that organization. So I would definitely encourage you to, as a manager, when it comes to feeling motivated in a demotivating wider system, again, it's starting with you because you cannot pour from an empty cup. What is your why? What is the impact that you desire to make for your team? Can you revisit that? Do you need to make some changes there? What are some of the small wins that the team have made? You know, is it, as I said, is it a project that you've hit a real deadline and got really good feedback from your clients, maybe from your colleagues from other departments? You know, but again, making sure that you also look after yourself, your self-care, that is key. And then when you're looking at the team themselves, what is it that the team need? Ask them. Again, be honest, be transparent about the state of the wider organization. You might not have all the answers, and be honest about that too. There may be things that you can't even divulge. Be honest about that also. And again, celebrate the team. You can't change the wider culture, but you can control the environment that your team are growing up in. And then when you're thinking about the wider environment, then because you this is where you work, you want to know that what you're doing is making some small impact, even if it's the ripple of a pebble in the wider ocean. You want to know that I made a slight difference, but also let other people in the organization know what you're working on, what you're working towards. Widen that network, bring people in so you can hear some of the other things that people are doing. And maybe people in your team can offer some type of assistance. Those joint ventures not only widen your expertise, but it also widens your network and exposes you to other things that the company are doing. So you can then say, wow, look at that. This is what I'm part of. I hope that has been helpful. I hope that has answered your question. And I look forward to hearing which one of those that you implemented and the results that you got.